Friends, how are you doing? What's going on here? So let's talk about what's happened today in the market. Obviously, good things are happening here. The biggest thing that we're seeing right now developing before us is the tariff situation. So China and us have essentially worked out a 90-day agreement, and it's still not a done deal. This is just the first stages of a skeleton deal here. So the market likes it. There could be no deal. There could be nothing happening here. But the market is liking this. At least we're talking. At least something's happening here. So essentially, it looks like Trump is getting what he wants here. It's the starts of it. Now, this obviously will progress, this tariff deal, and we'll see what happens. But, the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, everything loves it right now. We're still dealing with the feds. Trump wants a rate cut. Jerome Powell says, no, we're not doing one yet. The Feds right now are more concerned about what's coming here in the next 2 months with inflation reports. So it's essentially, Jerome hasn't given a date. The Feds haven't given a date of when or if they're going to do a rate cut. They're just saying, hey, we're still looking into 2 months from now over the summer what's going to happen here. So we'll let you know here. And Trump is completely not having it. So friends, like I said, I hope everyone is well. Good day in the market. We expected a good day. I was preaching this over the weekend. I was like, man, this is going to be a great day in the market. And it was. And it might be a pretty good week in the market. If things keep going this route here, things might just kind of start to ease back up. Listen, the S&P is looking for that 6,000 point range again. It wants it. It's going to get there. It's just kind of how fast are we going to get there. So everything is going in the right direction, plus the pharmacy situation that we heard about today. It's all moving in the right direction. So first off, Soundhound. I don't want to talk too much about Soundhound because I just did a hellacious video on Soundhound, but essentially Soundhound came out with quarterlies here. It was an okay quarterly. It left more questions than I think answers right now with Soundhound, but nonetheless, Soundhound's still doing great here. Soundhound's making more money right now than they've ever made before, so that's the positive. That is 100% the positive, and that's what you want to see when you're investing in a company. Now, Soundhound today moved back up into over $11 position, 11 and 1 cent will go, but still a great day for Soundhound. I mean, just like amazing. And obviously, Soundhound did really well today because of the tariff talk and China tariff situation. That was a really good thing for Soundhound. But this is good for Soundhound because Soundhound, and we saw this a lot in 2024, and we're still seeing it because it's the new direction with the company, which is really good. Soundhound is really pushing into a global market here, and we saw them break off into global markets last year, and they're still doing that, which is great because they're reaching out their tentacles in a lot of different directions to bring in money for the company. Now, obviously, there are a handful, very small handful of companies that are doing what Soundhound does, but Soundhound has been getting more business, getting people's attention here. So, when we look at the 5-10 year, outlook from Soundhound, I don't exactly know where it's going to be. There's not a clear road to the path of victory for Soundhound to me right now, but there is this look of, hey, they are moving in the right direction. Hey, we are seeing impressive movement here with Soundhound. So, I think nonetheless here, Soundhound is going to be an up and down stock here. I still think, on a bad day, it's going to sell out to a $7-8 position. But if Soundhound can hold these positions, that's a win for a lot of people, because a lot of people were here buying Soundhound when it was $2, $3, $5, and, maybe $6 just a few weeks ago when it was down in the dirt before these quarterlies. So this is pretty good. I mean, this is good for Soundhound. Soundhound likes this news with the tariffs. Soundhound likes what's going on with its new earnings, its new revenue stream of revenue coming in. So it's an interesting play right now with Soundhound, 100%. So just going over Big Bear again. So I swear, I don't know why you guys still want me to talk about Big Bear. Every time I talk about Big Bear, you're like, keep talking about Big Bear. There's nothing else to say about Big Bear. Every time I talk about Big Bear, I really have nothing new. We're just watching what happens. But the new news with Big Bear is that it's the old news, and the old news is the situation of this is just a daily occurrence at this point. You're seeing all these law firms come out. They're all trying to get a piece of the pie right now with going against Big Bear, with putting out these advertisement advertisement saying, hey, if you've been wrong by Big Bear, you bought stock between this date, this date, and this date, hey, contact us and we're going to really give it to them. So this is just like, I mean, literally, you can go look. It's like every 12 hours, 8 hours, there's a new article, pretty much copy and paste with a new law firm. The old law firms, they're all doing the same thing. They're trying to go after Big Bear, and they only have a certain date at this point. So it's just an ongoing thing at this point, and it's going to supposedly be wrapping up here at the beginning of June. So if we can get through this, then these stories will be gone. But I think a lot of people are at this point are like, whatever, the lawsuit situation. And really, this lawsuit has nothing to do with Big Bear's earnings as of right now, the future earnings of what we're talking about when it comes to Big Bear. So this isn't something that scares me at all. I'm not scared about this situation. I'm more or less just wanting it to get done with. I don't want to see it anymore. It's not good publicity, so it doesn't need to be here. As someone who wants Big Bear to keep running and doing better here, it needs to disappear fast. So Big Bear is holding a great position right now. This $3, the 330 zone here, this is a great position right now with Big Bear. And if they can keep this traction going, it's a telltale sign that the market's doing well too. With that, we could be going back up. Maybe we could touch $4 again here before we know. It's hard to tell right now because the market is in this kind of new light, this new road right now where things are going a little better than what we thought they were going to do. I'm sure we're still going to hit some some bumps in the road here in the curves, but all in all, I think we are doing better with Big Bear than I thought we were going to do. I'm going to be honest, I thought the market was going to be a little more challenging at this point where we're at right now time-wise. And, I thought that Big Bear may have more of a hard time holding this $3 position. Now, obviously, this could all change in a matter of moments here. But I think Big Bear is doing great holding this position. I'm going to be totally honest with you. So I am still very much optimistic that we could see Big Bear get another deal. I don't know how many more defense deals it's going to get. I mean, it's gotten so many at this point. I'm hoping that Big Bear does kind of venture out, that they find a deal themselves, or someone comes to them and says, hey, we want to work with you. Can we make a contract for, X amount of years for this amount of money? We could see that. I think we will see that. I think that is coming down the road here. I really do. I think that situation will occur here sometime this year. I just, obviously we don't know when. So it's an interesting situation because Big Bear, as of right now, has, in the last 6 months, it's gotten all this new business, all these new contracts, these really good, really juicy contracts, these juicy contracts. What I'm saying is these defense contracts. Okay. So these are like the cream of the crop kind of contracts. They last long, they can get more money, can be added to them. They could go on and on. And they're with the U.S. government, obviously. So they're great. Now, obviously too, that looks great for Big Bear. So other companies are going to see that and they're going to go, okay, so they've got contracts with the U.S. government. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. This is how Palantir started to get rolling. How Palantir really got rolling here, 3 years ago when these government contracts started happening with Palantir. Now, obviously, Palantir was in a completely different headspace and, money-wise and all that. But, this is a great place for Big Bear to really maybe get started to where, Big Bear could, maybe imagine 6 months from now. And we at least at that point, captured 3 more big deals, somewhere in that. Undoubtedly, what do we know? We know that Big Bear could potentially have the biggest year of earnings it's ever had. And then if they can push into 2026 with this, ferocious, earnings compared to what they've been doing, still not huge numbers, but, better than what they've been doing, and still getting contracts, still getting deals, and maybe, by next year, they've got these defense deals because they're still going to be going because they're under contracts and they're spread out over, most of them are like 3 to 4 years at this point. And then they start getting other deals, from other companies. We're going to have a lot of compounding, and, Big Bear can really get into a position where they're paying off debt. They're bringing in more revenue than they've ever made, and they're getting attention. And I don't know that, The thing is, the thing that, the past 10 years that I've been in the market, there's always been themes in the market. There's been themes in the market. When Trump first came into, I remember in 2020, I remember in 2016 when Trump first won the election, that first go around, when Trump came into office, the big theme in the market at that point were the EV market, EV cars, electric cars. They were really big. Everyone with $10 billion was starting an EV company. I mean, if you were in the market at that time, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because there were so many EV companies. And two, over that time span too, cannabis companies have been had their moments too. I don't really think a lot of people are paying attention to them at this point, because Republicans don't like cannabis and they're in charge right now, so it's probably not going to do anything. That's why no one's paying attention to cannabis companies, and I don't even talk about them anymore. But so it was EVs, then it was a little bit of cannabis, and then we saw this thing start to happen with Biden come in, and then it switched real fast to green energy, more EV stuff, but green energy companies mix in there too, where they're making gas out of corn syrup and all that, jet fuel, all that kind of crazy stuff. Companies that really did nothing and went bankrupt, and we just saw a lot of that take place. And then now obviously too, in Biden's administration too, the last couple years, we really saw a switch into software, technology, chips. Getting into this AI has always been big, but we're really seeing this market shift into a tech market where it's just growing, and I don't know that it's going to stop. That's the thing. I don't know what's next. It's just another form of tech after this. So, obviously last year it was chip companies. I mean, chip companies were just oh my God, making all the money. And now this year, it's still chips are doing very well, but it's more of software based. We're seeing a lot more software based companies do better this year. And obviously, I think everyone's thinking of one company in general, NVIDIA, chips, they have software too. But, too, like Palantir. Palantir's doing very well because it's software. We're seeing, but there's a lot of companies like that have software that are doing better. And Big Bear is in that. Whether you want to say it or not, it's in that category. It's in that conversation where you're seeing Big Bear find a place right now in the market. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Listen, I will be the first to tell you. You can go back and look when I was talking about Big Bear here back in September, August, whenever I started yapping about it. The same thing I said then, I'm saying it now. There are problems with Big Bear. There are problems. They have debt they need to pay off. They need to get this lawsuit situation wrapped up and done. I would really, if anybody knows Kevin, the new CEO, I would love to see Kevin talk more. I would love to see Kevin do interviews. It is so important when, I do believe this, when CEOs talk and they talk to their investors on video, on camera, a video, you can tell I'm a millennial. When CEOs talk, they make videos. That's so important. We need to know what he's thinking, what Big Bear is going after, what their hopes, their plans, their concerns. It's so good. And I do think that's a huge thing with Palantir that you see. You see Alex Karp out there talking to investors, not only talking about, Palantir, but talking about the whole business, where things are. And it makes investors feel comfortable that okay, this is the guy that's running the ship. And if he's saying these things, I really like what he's saying. I really connect with what this guy's saying, preaching here. And that's I honest to God, I believe it, that's a lot of reason why you're seeing such a heavy push to in Palantir. It's obviously the money, it's obviously the quarterlies, it's obviously the deals, but there is this thing too where you have Alex Karp, who's so just charismatic, genuine out there and just talking, and that makes investors feel so comfortable. I mean, it really does. So, I would love to see something like that with Big Bear, 100%. Are we going to get that? I don't know. If I had Kevin, if I had the new CEO, Kevin's number, I would give him a call, but I don't. So if anybody knows Kevin, please call him. That's really what I have to say about Big Bear. I'm still very much, listen guys, I am looking at Big Bear every day. I'm paying attention to it. I'm very skeptical that they could, skeptical the right word. I'm very I'm very much in the belief that they can continue to keep getting deals. Okay, 100%. Okay, I think a deal is leading to a deal at this point. I think when they get one deal done, they're getting a phone call about another deal. So there's something going on. There's something in the water here in Big Bear land, and I hope it just keeps growing here. I really do mean that. So if Big Bear continues in this shelf life where it's at right now, they 100% could get into a position where they're back in the $4 range. I don't think it's not that crazy to get back to $4. The crazy, price range for Big Bear right now is like $8 to $10. That's crazy numbers. That's like, okay, it's being pushed up again, and I don't know if this can last, but four and some change, I don't think that's that crazy at this point, and it could be coming here sooner than we think, especially going into June with this supposedly this lawsuit situation ending and the market maybe doing better than what we expected, because the tariff deals a lot of these tariff deals are getting wrapped up, just on their own. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the future brings here with Big Bear. And just, look at SoFi here. Look at this with SoFi. I've been trading SoFi back and forth, buying low, selling high, buying low, selling high. So SoFi obviously, and I said this 2-3 weeks ago when the quarterlies came out, I said, do not worry about what's going on here with SoFi. SoFi is going to run. SoFi is going to be back in a $14, $15, $16, $17 range. And I honest to God believe we're watching that happen before us. This SoFi is such a creature of habit. It is such a creature of habit. Like, this is not my first rodeo with SoFi. If you've been here, you know. SoFi is so famous for releasing quarterlies, good quarterlies, and then their sell-off. And then it just stays there for a minute, and it's like, people are like, oh man, why is it not moving? And then slowly we see the build back up. We see the new level, the new low to the new high to the new low. Okay. So I do believe that SoFi could be in a price range right now, especially with support with the market, that SoFi, will find a range somewhere where it's at right now at the new low. $12 to $14 could be the new low. 16 to 18 could be the new high. 18 on a really positive day. 16 to 14 the new normal, and then on a really, really sell-off day, a bad day, we could be somewhere high 12, high 13s. So we could be working our way into a position right now with SoFi like that, and that's really good money. That is really good money. So don't kid yourself about that. So friends, with all that said, listen, I don't want to talk too much more. I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk, but yeah, I'm excited about all these stocks. I think we are in a great position right now in the market. I mean, things are going better than I think a lot of us thought here, faster than we thought. There obviously will be storms. We're going to be met with storms in the market. Okay, something may break tomorrow. Some kind of new thing that we never saw coming. But in those moments, it's the comfort that we are in good stocks. We're in good plays. Obviously, there's going to be our stocks that we're taking risk on, that we're taking chances on, and there's going to be stocks that are solid, that are going, and we know that are always going to, go back to what they were, and they're going to bring more down the road. Okay, but all in all, I think this is a fantastic market to be a part of, and I think we are heading into some just all new money we haven't seen before in this market. And I think a lot of people, 4 years from now, you're going to go, oh my God, thank God I invested in certain companies, because I am making so much money. I have made a little retirement fund at this point, and things are looking good. Listen, you'd be surprised what you can make in the market in just 1 year if you start paying attention to what's going on a daily basis. You don't have to your life doesn't have to be evolved around the market 24/7, but if you're just, doing, checking in from time to time, following trends, following the patterns, you'll do well. You will do well. I promise you. Friends, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.